So today we are here to talk to you about spray drones and multi-spectrum drones with the CIRTA Farm Future Aerial Remote Management. Yes, I'm Kyle Hester. I operate and own and run CIRTA infrared thermography as well as CIRTA Farm. I moved into testing and tagging, and which then led me to the thermal drone industry, really, because I got my thermal camera, and then that led me into the drones. But I actually got with the bus company, we're doing weddings, so I started flying drones back in 2018, and then I thought with the thermal, that's where the dots joined between the drones and the thermal imaging, and then here we are. The drones then led me to spray drones, and I got down as soon as I seen them. I got down and thought, I've got to tell these guys, I've got to get this out here because it's almost criminal that farmers aren't using them in Victoria. So I thought, well, to me, that makes the most sense because everyone's doing it tough. And if there's a way that we can help someone save money, time, and all the rest of it, I want to sign up for that. We've been doing some thermal deer stuff, I've been doing thermal deer stuff, and we've been doing some animal mapping and vegetation and a whole bunch of other stuff. So
we are a training organisation. I've been running uncrewed aviation training organisations for quite some time. We run training all over the country, specifically in the ag sector. We do everything. We deal with the DJI ecosystem simply because we've been using it for a long time. The DJI agriculture platform itself consists of a few elements. I mean, obviously we've got the aircraft itself, but then you've got some very clever software as well, which is available on your phone and it's available on the computer, called DJI Smart Farm. And the way the system works is that we have these small little aircraft. They weigh under 2 kilograms. They're called the DJI Mavic 3 multispectral. And what it can do, it'll go out and it can analyze crop health. It can reconstruct a very high resolution map that is then fed from the aircraft to the DJI Smart Farm platform. That platform then very cleverly stitches the images together, does all the analysis, and sends you back a number of different indices, such as normalized difference vegetation index, NDVI imagery, and also a number of others, including elevation maps and things like that. What we then do that information is, again, within the Smart Farm platform, that is then processed into either a variable rate or a zonal spray or seed map. So very simply, it's a complex process, but done so easily within Smart Farm. That information is then sent to the ag drones. And what it does, it allows you then to be absolutely precise with what you're doing. So you don't need to go and blanket spray a paddock or whatever it is you're trying to do on orchard. It will variable rate based on that NDVI imagery that the Mavic 3 multispectral captured. So what we do as a company is generally we come to you. We have a number of different training packages that center around agriculture, from basic survey and mapping with T-Series drones. We have a number of packages. You can check out the website, dronestar.au. So yeah, there's an agricultural section there that deals with both landholders. If you've got your own land, things are a bit easier and cheaper to do. You can't make profit from it. A bit of a grey area, because if you're spraying your own land, you're still making profit. But it just means from a rules and regulations perspective, you're exempt from the requirements of what's called a CASA remote operator certificate, which saves you a bit. But if you want to operate commercially or on your neighbour's land or someone else's land and take money for it, you've got to have that remote operator certificate. But yeah, we have the full course from start to finish, from zero experience right the way through your remote pilot's license, right the way through to delivery of your remote operator certificate if you want one. The aircraft itself, configuration, showing you how it works in the real world. On your farm, or you can come to one of our venues. It doesn't really matter. If you do run a course with us, if you do have a course with us, if we come out and we look after you, then it doesn't end at the end of it. Yes, we get you all qualified and you're happy, but then you would join a network of like-minded people and always have access to us and expert advice from start to finish on anything that you need to help you get the job done and be more efficient.
Basically, Australia's, for me, as far as I'm concerned, they're the actual leaders in the market. With all the AI and weed detection stuff.
Established in 2016 with an aim to pioneer the practical integration of drones and AI into farming. What that means for us is sort of drone docs and vision systems. I'll talk primarily about vision systems. Rules and services. Rule number one, I try not to do anything that a satellite or a plane can do quicker and cheaper. in terms of the vision side of it. And rule number 2, it's not magic. If you can't see it from above, then you can't see it from above. It's a sort of data processing we can do, and I'll go through this with some images to sort of paint the picture. Green on brown weed detection, green on green weed detection, so any sort of individual species or anomalies within crops. Anomaly detection, R&D data. We do drone docs. As I said, we're vision specialists, so computer vision specialists, AI specialists. So what we focus on is making sure that the data that we need can be collected basically by almost anyone. So we trade primarily in RGB data. That's just the normal imagery that comes out of a camera or a drone. So how it works, we ask that we collect, whoever's collecting the information for us, or we collect the information nice and high resolution. The higher resolution, the better. We combine that into one large image. We tweak our AI for the specific thing that you're trying to target within your paddock or your field. Traditionally, we develop a file that can then go into a ground-based spray rig or one of the drones that Darren was talking about previously. The DJI systems seem to work the best. And what you see there is on the image, on the picture there, I should say, is a spray file. Normally, we'll also provide the number of litres of chemical that needs to be mixed up prior to the jobs. It's basically like an as-applied map before you apply. We give you sort of some good stats on that, and we can change the buffers and the boundaries and whatever else. So this is the sort of stuff that we can do. The key point here is if you can see it, while you're standing on the back of your ute in a paddock, there's a good chance we'll be able to find it with the drone and our AI system, and then put that into some sort of file you can get after. So whilst I've got a couple of images up here, and I'll go through a few more, really it's unlimited what we can find. It's just got to be able to be seen from above. It's got to be easily differentiable from the background. And so you see there that we've done some radish and wheat. That's pretty easy to identify against the wheat backdrop because there's a flower there. Green on brown stuff. A lot of people are getting through green on brown gear at the moment. We do a lot of that. Ryegrass in wheat. Because ryegrass manifests a little bit differently than wheat in terms of like being a little bit clumpier rather than just straight in a row. We could actually, even though the plant leaves look very similar, we can pick up on that just due to the structure of it. Some club rush or sedge in rice. That's an interesting one. It's basically the same color as the rice, but again, the structure, we're able to pick up on it. And you can see the other examples there. We've done a large project over the last 4 years of sticky nightshade in pasture and some of the wildest sort of country that sort of New South Wales has to offer, like very undulating country where it's been difficult to get after the weeds, not just in terms of finding them, but also in terms of spraying them. So this year, as an example, we did 8,000 hectares. 8,000 hectares of weed detection for a specific area in sticky nightshade, and we're allowing those files to go into both ground-based rigs as well as into spray drones. In the country that we're in, you can't really get ground-based rigs or even knapsacks down to some of the areas, and so we're sort of being able to put those files into spray drones and get after that problem. But we can certainly do it at scale. That wasn't a small job. Yeah, so we've got some green on brown stuff in the top left there. Top right, we've got rat's tail grass in pasture. We do a lot of work with a company up in Queensland getting after rat's tail in pasture. And as you can see, like rat's tail really looks very similar to the background, but for whatever reason, we've been able to find that fairly effectively up there. Some of the other stuff we're looking at in conjunction with drone docs on the bottom left there is artificial intelligence enabled scouting. So finding blemishes, finding insects, finding weeds out of row within crops. And you can see that one on the bottom right there is actually black oats in a new, sort of a recently emerged wheat crop, I think it was. It could have been barley. We've also done that in a later stage crop. So that's a more mature crop. You can see that was just done a week or two ago. we were able to determine the presence of black oats within that crop, which is something that I don't know that anyone else has been able to do in that context. But that was allowing this particular farmer to get after that problem. And as you can see, out of the 56 hectares, it was really only 1.9 hectares of black oats in that crop. So that was a very effective file for him. That's the sedge in rice. That's a good use case. That was down the Riverina. That paddock, 141 hectares of it was going to be sprayed by spray plane. And as everyone who's been down the sort of Riverina knows, all of the issues with drift and crops like vines and cotton and whatever else nearby. So we were able to isolate the sedge or the club rush in rice there, and put those files into the spray drones you can see below, and then go and target that in crop, essentially saving sort of 97% of that chemical, which is a good result. Similar location actually down the river, and again barnyard grass. This bit of data I think comes from, I'm going to say 2020, maybe 2021. So we were very, very early adopters of the green on green technology, and very early creators, I should say, of the green on green technology. But that's again sort of 96% saving in that particular paddock, and the chemical brews in rice to get after these problems are quite expensive. This is something that's more emerging, and something that we are looking to offer with in conjunction with drone docking systems, which I can talk a bit more about later on. It's more about scouting and anomaly detection. So you could as a crop scouter or as an agronomist, you might head out into a paddock and check 5 or 6 parts of a paddock, 10 parts of a paddock perhaps, with a deployed system like a drone docking station. What we're looking to do is increase that checking to maybe 10,000 instances in a paddock rather than 5 or 10 or 20, whatever the human's doing, and really basically provide like a risk mitigation service for crops of a high value, or crops that have vulnerable periods during the cropping cycle. Here's another random one actually. This is a customer that wanted to have all of the rocks in his paddocks mapped so that he could get out there and get after them. He said his issue was that there was rocks of various sizes in the paddock, and he'd see them as he goes past, at harvest or whatever, and but could never really get after the problem. So we basically mapped all the rocks in his paddocks, categorized them between 20 centimeters and 50 centimeters, and put that into an app that he could then provide to his workers with the most optimum route to go pick up all of those rocks. So he said that this is a big issue for him. One of those sort of 20 centimeter rocks goes through the front of one of his machines. It's like a $20,000 bill. So he was quite happy to get that in a format that he could actually get after picking up all the rocks. So not a job we normally do, but just something that came up, and I think it demonstrates the flexibility of our technology. And at one stage we might be looking for black oats in a crop. The next stage we're just looking for rocks, but we can turn our sort of computer vision solutions or our AI to a variety of tasks. I'm not sure how much cotton you got down there, but there's replanting stuff, and so you can see on the bottom right hand side there that was essentially the client wanted to understand gaps between plants. So you can see the cotton rows sort of going horizontally, and the red lines indicating the gaps. They just really wanted to know where the gaps were and in order to make a decision on whether they're going to replant the crop or not. The one at the top, we're actually physically counting individual cotton plants. And as you can see, the imagery is a little bit blurry. What that is that it's a kind of like a trade-off with any job that you do between the clarity of the image and the cost effectiveness of the service. So we could take immaculate photos of every single cotton plant in that crop, but it just wouldn't make sense commercially. The price to analyse that information would be astronomical. And we pitch this balance between what's commercially sensible and what's technically appropriate for being able to classify items in an image. So drone docks, we've got 2 drone docks we offer at the moment. So the DJI Dock 3 is the latest and greatest sort of offering from DJI, and it's an impressive product. It enables basically for those people that aren't sort of across what docking stations are, it's basically a environmentally protected shelter for a drone that can allow a drone to live out in a paddock or out on a farming location, throughout whatever weather and temperatures and whatever it throws at it. We can control that dock from our remote operations center and operate it without having to go into the paddock. So it essentially becomes a piece of farm IoT equipment, sort of akin to a soil probe or a weather station or anything else. It just enables us to be able to collect high resolution data and turn that into the sort of stuff that I've just showed you previously. That system there, which is essentially a weatherproof dock, it's got a weather station on it, it's got a security camera on it, it's got the software that can enable it to be commanded from a remote operations center. It's an exquisite bit of technology. Retails just over $30,000, and just to note that the drone, and that includes the drone, and just to note that drone in there, 5 or 6 years ago would have been, well over $100,000 to $200,000, and now we're sort of got these things, being offered at 30 odd grand. It's a very, very compelling. Very compelling piece of equipment. The other dock you can see there is our larger dock. The reason we've got that is that it can carry the larger drone in there, the Matrice 350, and we'll probably put the Matrice 400 in there at some point. But the 350 and the 300 go into that dock. Which means that then you can carry a variety of payloads. So whilst the DJI Dock 3 pictured in the right hand side of this image has a drone which has its own built-in payloads. The drone on the bottom left there, you can integrate with a multitude of sensors. So things like specialist mapping sensors, a LiDAR, a thermal, and multispectral, which is what the key differentiator is that we can put multispectral devices in there for if that's a requirement for the job. That particular docking station is approved for use out where I am. I'm based out in Dubbo, and was sat on a Grains Research and Development Corporation project last year as part of the Grain Automate, just to understand how docking stations might be utilised within cropping cycles to automate the collection of large amounts of data, the likes of which I've just shown you.
Yeah, I'm an ag drone contractor based in West Gippsland. I've been running the DJI T50 for probably about 18 months now. Over in my area in West Gippsland, we've got a lot of different terrain to cover. Where I'm based in the Kubi Rock swamp area, it's pretty much dead flat, open land. We've got Strzelecki Ranges just on the edge of that, which get some quite steep gullies and fields. So cover quite a varied terrain. As far as what work I do, we have quite a varied array of farming here as well. Historically, a lot of dairy farms, getting a lot more veggie growers coming in the area now. There's orchards on the hills, apple orchards covered in bird netting, which is an interesting job. A lot of beef cattle, vineyards, pretty much you name it, and it's all within a 30-minute drive of where I'm based. I do some work with local fertilizer suppliers and spreaders in the steep areas a fair bit. They'll go in, spread with the truck or the tractor, and anywhere they can't get to, they'll tend to call me in and they'll just clean up the steeper gullies mostly for cattle grazing those areas. Speaking on the T50, like I said, been running it for about 18 months now. Can't really fault it really. As far as reliability goes, I think I've replaced one sprayer motor in that time. The only failure I've had, which was a couple $100. Maintenance wise, very minimal maintenance. I've done a bit of hay contracting as well in the past, and compared to that, the the maintenance costs are nothing really. I was forever spending money on equipment doing hay contracting. So yeah, she's been pretty reliable, the T50. I'm looking forward to giving the T100 a go. That should be interesting. Operating the drone, from my perspective, is pretty easy. If you can work a smartphone, you can pretty much fly the drone. There is, with a bit of experience, things do improve as far as efficiencies goes. You get to understand how the drone operates and best way to perform certain missions and program it to do what it needs to do. But certainly not out of reach of anyone with some basic sort of knowledge. I have a tender trailer set up, which has a 1,000 litre IBC for fresh water, 400 litre batching tank where I mix chemical in. So basically I can go out, typically spraying around 30 to 40 litres per hectare with the drone. So I can cover about 20 hectares with the fresh water I carry. Most farmers generally have fresh water supply. I can run back and top back up again. You can go a little lower rate than that, depending on what you're spraying, or a lot higher if need be, depending on the chemical.
So what about your setup time from when you pull up to getting out in the paddock? You like, obviously, roughly depending on what you're doing, lots of stuff. Obviously, you pull up and you have to deploy it and lots of stuff. So obviously, you're going to get there faster than the tractor because you're driving the car and you've got the trailer on the back. Yep. So, but then after that, how long does it take for you to sort of set it up and hit the ground?
Once you pull up, I could be flying within 10-15 minutes most times if you've already got water on board. Got to stop and fill up with water. That takes time, but I pull the drone out, unfold it. I have a 240 volt pump and a generator on the trailer. Got a 20 kVA generator which charges batteries whilst I'm flying and runs the 240 volt pump. I'll just pump water into the batching tank, chuck the chemical in, and however long it takes that, it's pretty much ready to go.
So obviously it comes down to the benefits and what you save or what you can do or how it can improve. So you actually heard Tristan saying, so I actually went conservative on them numbers. So I don't like to, say, oh, this is the best and everything. I don't work like that. I sort of try and rein it in and keep it real and not feed full of crap because, that's not going to help anyone. But again, the only problem was the bloke he had doing the multi-spectrum and didn't save it in the right format, so he had the blanket slate anyway. He was not happy. But again, going back to Tristan, he sends out a file first to make sure it works with your equipment, whatever it is. So for me, that's a winner, rather than just guessing and hoping it's all good. So you've got a chemical saving, and if you don't have to spray the chemical, you save time. So if you're saving time, you're saving money. And then obviously on top of that, all you need to do is run a generator instead of running a tractor. So anyone that can save 93% in fuel, I've actually heard of it actually being like 95, or it'd actually be even more, because if you only spraying like 7% of the crop that's in there, saying then 92, 93%, you didn't have to spray. So instead of a whole day spraying, you're going to be out for an hour. And then obviously you've got the capital outlay. It's like, like some of their firms have like $1.5 million or something like that. It's crazy stuff. where you could buy three of them T100s that are out there on the outside there, and you'd still come home with $1 million plus in your pocket. And obviously hilly, rocky terrain where you can't access it, and obviously it reduces your carbon footprint as well. So that's the other thing, I suppose, with taxes and lots of stuff. They're all going to be coming in where you're going to have to pay X amount for carbon footprint and all that sort of stuff. So this sort of takes that off the slate as well. Then you can also do animal inspection and monitoring. So animal herding or showing starlings away from your signage. And then you've got, water monitoring. You can go and check your troughs, equipment and asset inspection. So it's the same as a troughs. You can go around and check your paddocks, you can check your fences, you can do whatever, you can check your livestock. And then you can do, obviously, asset mapping. So whether that's a shed, a house, whatever, windmill, phone tower if you really need one, whatever, you can have it, check all that sort of stuff out. And one of the main things is obviously hard to get places, which Jason was just talking about, the different terrain following all that sort of thing. And then you can do 3D mapping. Obviously your data collection as well with all the, as you see down the bottom right hand side there, that's the multispectral image. So you can map your whole property. So then you get your RGB, your normal image, as well as the multispectrum. So you can pick everything up. And then you can do thermal animal assessments and monitoring. So model your sheep, cattle, whatever livestock, and also check out the feral animal spotting and detection and monitoring and counting. So then obviously with the lift kits with the T100 as well. So that just changes another thing, like being able to cart 100 kilos around wherever you want and just clip it on in the middle of nowhere. And then drag it out or whatever. And that's just to name a few. Some of the stuff we haven't come across yet because it's all so new. So then, so this is me. This is what I was talking about with Tristan, actually up in the Gold Coast in the hinterland. We're doing some feral deer spotting. Well, that was a 350. That's the one that was on the trailer that Tristan was talking about. So that's one, multiple payloads. You can have a camera like we had the thermal camera on one side and a spotlight on the other. Because when we're doing the deer surveying, we'd send with the thermals first. So you'd be scouting over, because we done 3,000 hectares, I think it was. You're scouting over the terrain, sort of trying to find the hot spots. And then when you found them and you thought they were deer, you'd sort of get there and zoom in with the camera and then hit the spotlight so you could actually visually see them. And that was the back of the ute set up with the drones there. And then obviously you can do your 3D mapping, as you said. So you can actually map your whole property, including all the terrain, and you can actually have it, it'll sort of color code it and everything for you so you can pick up the high spots and the low spots. And then obviously solars with the thermal imaging, we can actually do solar panels and pick up every cell on the solar panel, make sure it's functioning properly. If it's not, well, obviously there might be strings out, the whole row out, which is not good because you want them to be, you want your batteries up or, getting in, not going nowhere. But that's the biggest thing is not only spraying, it's just all the monitoring and checking stuff out. And, you lose time like every day doing stuff you could do with this type of equipment, and you can do it easily, and pretty much anyone can do it. Because as I say, I think it was Tristan was saying, Jason, if you can use the smartphone, you can do this. It's all touch type. It's all touch on the screen, and it just maps everything for you. But it is super easy. So this is where it sort of started for me in the thermals, and then progressing on to all this sort of stuff was thermal imaging. That's up at the Western Hotel. That top one, I think that was, I I'm not sure whether that was Merida Theory or I think it might be Love It Up actually, that one, when I was doing the switchboards and lots of stuff. So that's another thing we do is go around checking switchboards and any electrical things for obviously hotspots. So you can see that it's right. It's put really hot up the top, and then there's sort of not much coming out down the bottom. So there's something going on there. Yeah. So I've also done equine checking equine horses for injuries and lots of stuff as well. So it covers a pretty broad range of things. So obviously the question is, do you think any of these precision farming options could assist you in your current practices? Could I use this on my farm? Would I use this on my farm? And how much could it potentially save me? I just want to save everyone money. And obviously I want to generate some income out of it. So I help you, and then you buy through me, and we all go down the street happy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.